Hi, the family of God. I hope that you are well wherever you are. I'm sorry that sometimes we are afraid to talk to you about these things because we know that it can be misunderstood. But unfortunately, the gospel is something that you have to teach wholeheartedly. You need to apply your heart and you must say, be honest about what you're doing. If somebody is actually coming to your home and ask you for money to build a wall of protection around you, and you see him just starting to pile up bricks, just know one thing: he doesn't love you, he doesn't care about you. People that have built houses know that the house that is built without a solid foundation will never stand the test of the wind. So the same way that we're coming and improvising ourselves into your life, into a home, and saying that we came to save you from death to life, we cannot tell you that it's just a switch, a flip of a switch that it happens. There is a way and there is a work that goes for that. And when somebody is in trouble and you have to pray for them, they call it intercession. So it's something that we encourage many people to do. They'll tell you, look, he's got a situation, he's addicted to alcohol, just pray for him, it's going to be okay. That's a very, very good way to lie. And unfortunately, I know that church has toned down on messages that are very offensive because church is tending now to make people comfortable. Grace is waived and the goodness of God is displayed, but the part of righteousness is silence. While the righteousness of a man is very important when it comes to intercession. One of the beautiful story of intercession is the one of Abraham when he is interceding for Sodom and Gomorrah. On purpose, the Bible doesn't say he prays for Lot, but they just say that he prays over questioning God on the number of people that are righteous. He basically just put God in front of the book and say, God, if there is righteous and there are unrighteous, are you going to destroy everybody? It goes from 50 to 40 to 30 to 20 to 10 people. Now, for those that have done mathematics extensively, especially graph, you'll find that there is constants. What's the constant of God is righteousness. So it is important for a man of God to sometimes teach his church the work of righteousness. The righteousness of Noah saved him. The righteousness of Job saved him. And when David was praying, he will say, God, search in me and see in my innocence. So basically, David will boldly approach the throne of God to say, because I'm righteous, I have the right to speak to you, God, so that you intervene into my situation. So basically, I've been explaining all the time the way the devil comes with accusation to God. Heaven is a court, and the devil comes with accusation, and that accusation is found in the legal ground of your sin. So when he finds you sinning, he brings the file in the presence of God. And when the sins piled up in front of God, God has to pronounce judgment, and that's why you are in trouble. So now I want to talk about the other facets, and unfortunately the limitation of intercession. On the other facet, there is also guys that you call intercessor. Intercessor is a person that decides to take on the burden of somebody else and bring it to the presence of God and plead for God's intervention into that person's life. And this is what I need to talk very importantly to intercessors. If you need to intercede for somebody, before you pray for that person, you need to be able to call the person to a certain life of holiness. You need to prepare the person to be able to receive the angels of God in the house. Because what is basically happening is the same way that the devil comes with accusation, God dispatches angels into your house to come and verify, just like Sodom and Gomorrah. And when they find you in sin, the angel go back with the report and your judgment is pronounced. Now imagine me hearing your situations like we always reactively do. You hear a problem in somebody's life and you just start praying and you start blaming God. God, why are you doing these things? And what we basically do is we're taking a lot of risk praying for somebody that is not choosing by himself to be well. So basically an intercessor will go into the presence of God. I'm going to give my example. I'll go to God and say, God, help my family, help my sister, help my brother because of XYZ. What I don't realize is that the moment I pray and I make so much noise in heaven, God gets tired and it says, let me dispatch angels with him to go and find out the brother and the sister that he's praying for. And unfortunately, most of the times when God sends his angels and you are a man that is praying for deliverance, the angels come find you in a hotel with somebody else's wife, and you expect deliverance to come back. And the worst thing is when the angels go back with a report to God and say to God that Eve came to plead for this person and we found him in his position, and you make the intercessor stink. So I deliberately misused the resources of heaven in somebody's life, and I didn't prepare that person to the intercession. People like Jonah had messages to deliver of destruction. The town was not destroyed because the king and the town turned to God and they purified themselves. So by the time the destruction should have come, God saw their heart had turned to him because they made themselves righteous. And then God waived the event. In the time of Job, when Job had to recover his wealth, these friends have accused him. And God will first speak to the friends who say, come and bring offering to me. And when the offering came to them, to God, then God will say, you can now pray for them. So the message that I have for you today is that we are keen to pray for you. We want to intercede for you. We want you to be saved, but we want you to change. Even Jesus, before he performed a miracle, will ask people, are you willing? So there is a part that the person that you're interceding for needs to play. A very important part. The part of accepting God as his Lord and Savior and committing to the agenda that I want to follow. Meaning that if I tell you that at 10 o'clock we need to pray together, you need to be disciplined enough before I decide to open my mouth to go into the presence of God and say, now I can boldly come into the throne of God to ask you, God, to send an eviction notice to the devil in this family's life. And by that time, when the angels are going to come, and they used to find you in a nightclub, they used to find you in adultery, they used to find you in violence, and they find you on your knees. And immediately, angels and resources of heaven will be dispatched to save you. The Savior is Jesus Christ. And that's why we cannot land up saying to you all the time that it is a critical step for a man and a woman in this planet to accept Jesus as the Lord and Savior if they want to see themselves moving from death to life. May the Lord give us grace to come humbling in his presence and to make proper prayers. Not pray on the ground of we are right, but praying on the ground of the mercy of God. Remember, mercy and grace are different. Grace is something that you have not deserved and it's just given to you. But mercy is something different. Mercy suggests that you've done something wrong, and yet God, in his love, decides to still bless you. May the Lord apply mercy on your situation and bless you today.